I just read a report that America is now in more credit card debt than ever before, more than $1.1 trillion. You know, my grandfather used to say, there's no stress like money stress, son. Well, are you feeling that right now? Let me help. You've got a friend in the mortgage business in me, and I've helped families just like yours save hundreds of dollars a month. Seriously, we've helped listeners to this podcast save up to $800 a month. At SaveWithConrad.com, we routinely help our podcast listeners consolidate all of their high interest rate credit cards into just one much lower monthly payment. Would you like to lower your monthly payments? Wouldn't it be nice to skip your next 2 house payments? Are you finally ready for some breathing room and peace of mind? Start saving money today with your friend in the mortgage business, me, at SaveWithConrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket. And if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. You see, at SaveWithConrad.com, we don't say no. We say not yet, but here's how. We want to be your mortgage advisor for life. So find out how easy it is to finally get rid of your credit card debt once and for all, get a much lower monthly payment, and even skip your next 2 house payments. Let's find out how much money you can save for free at SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, equal housing lender.
SaveWithConrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Grilling JR with the voice of professional wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross. Jim, how are you, man?
I'm good, Connie. Thanks for asking. I'm still getting over my transcontinental flight and all that stuff. So, but I'm good.
Yeah, tell us about it. How was your trip across the pond with Kenny McIntosh and Inside the Ropes?
Well, Kenny does a great job, by and large. Great crew. Fiona was my escort. She drove me everywhere. I learned a lot on that tour. I learned that going forward, I'll be more aware of travel and how we travel. I don't think it makes much sense to fly from Jacksonville to Dallas and then back to London. And that's how I was routed. And that's my fault. I'm not blaming anybody for it, but it didn't, somebody's got to look at a map every now and then. I saw something on TV the other night, somebody did something similar and they said, buy a globe, a globe. So, but travel was aggressive. Doing 3 one-night stands in a row is challenging. There's where we were. Nice picture. We had three shows and 2 sellouts. We sold out in London and in Glasgow. And we had a good house in Manchester, but the other 2 were sold out. That glass on the table is a mule.
Roll Tide.
Yeah, I hear you. There's Kenny and myself. But we had a good crowd and good crowds, and it all worked out pretty well. The shows were entertaining. The audiences were attentive and informed. So it's all good stuff. I like working for Kenny. I hope to do more work for him in the future. There's a lot of markets over there that I haven't played at all, or that I haven't played in years. So, and I have fun doing those shows. It's good interacting with the audience. He does a unique show. Before we get started with the show, we have everybody come up and they get a picture. And then we have everybody come up and get an autograph merch, what did you bring or what did you buy or whatever. So it's a full program, a meet and greet, photos, autographs, and then the show. So it worked out good. I had a good time. I had 3 traditional English breakfasts on my stay, and 1 in each city. That was kind of fun. I didn't have fish and chips on this trip, which I missed, but I did have some good breakfast, and I'm grateful for that. So all good, Conrad. Good show. Good. I got paid. It always helps. Kenny did a good job. He wired my pay back to the States to my bank, my Chase Bank. And so worked out good, man. I had fun. I had a good time.
Well, we're glad you're back. Of course, the wrestling world was buzzing over the weekend for the Royal Rumble. Did you get a chance to catch any of that, Jim?
No. I was traveling, and it's just. Hey, look, it's a big deal. It's a big show. I saw some clips on social media of it, but I didn't watch any of it simply because I was either flying or stuck in an airport. I had some travel difficulties that were not cool. But I got home a Sunday night, about what I thought I would get home. So it worked out. But no, I didn't see much of the Rumble. Did you watch it?
I did, yes, sir. It was a longer show than I imagined, but not without a little controversy at the end. It felt like there was a contingent of fans online who were unhappy that Charlotte and Jey Uso won the Rumbles. I was kind of shocked, that
What was their problem?
I don't know. I think everybody assumed when Charlotte came back she'd be right in the title picture. No surprise there. Charlotte near the top of the main event of Royal Rumble doesn't.
That's how I'd book it.
Seem unusual. And then Jey Uso, man, he's been one of the more over talents on the roster and one of the biggest merch movers for a while now. It felt like the right call to me, but maybe it caught some people by surprise. I know he wasn't the betting favorite. Perhaps people were disappointed. They thought, hey, we wanted to see John Cena win his last Royal Rumble. Well, maybe you'll see him win his last Elimination Chamber. They're going to stretch this thing.
There you go. Of course, they got they can play another card or two.
That's right.
And Cena can get back in the hunt if that's what they choose to do. I, myself, and I love John. I signed John to that All-Star cast back in the day, and I have great respect for him. He's carved out an amazing career outside of WWE with his commercials. God, I hear his commercials, his voiceovers. What car company does he voice over? I can't remember.
I'm not sure. Dodge, maybe.
No, it's a Hyundai or
okay.
It's one of those. But he does a lot of work. You hear him a lot. And so he's carved out another career for himself outside WWE, which is very admirable.
Honda.
Yeah, there you go. Honda. It's what everybody can do if they want to work hard. In other words, a lot of guys can have those opportunities if they pursue them. And John was dogmatic in the fact that he pursued them and has scored some really big clients. And plus his movie work. One of the things that makes John so successful is that he is extremely easy to work with. And I think that powers that be and these different production companies see that. You ain't got to worry about John being on time. You ain't got to worry about John being prepared and ready to roll. So I can see the reasoning him winning his last one, all the sentimental stuff. I think we live in such a less sentimental society nowadays that most people don't give a shit. He got a nice extended stay in the Rumble. I don't know what number he came in at. I have no idea. It was number 1, by the way.
I don't recall.
I don't either. It don't matter. I just was curious. That's a key spot. It's like Rey Mysterio, Dave says.
Okay, I believe him.
Oh yeah. Well, he's his amigo. So
Okay.
they're going to stick together. Shit. So it was. I'm sure it was successful, Connie, because of the attendance. That was in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah, it's the biggest gate, biggest revenue day in the history of WWE, besides last year's night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania. So
that's awesome.
The beat goes on, man. WWE setting all kinds of records, and we had a great time here watching the Royal Rumble at Top Guy Rumble here in Huntsville, Alabama. It was an exclusive get-together for all of our top guys and gals over at adfreeshows.com. We got to go see the double taping of both Collision and Dynamite here in Huntsville on Wednesday.
How was that?
It was fantastic. And then we had a private comedy show with Corey Ryan Forrester, Cassio Kidd, and Shuli Agar on Thursday.
But on Friday, all of our fans and supporters and ad-free show members got to step in the ring with Jerry Lynn and learn how to run the ropes and lock up and actually be a part of in-ring. And then we actually booked our own show. It was called Top Guy Tussle. We had meet and greets. We had independent talent there. We had the main event, of course, the Royal Rumble get-together, where somebody had a chance to win WrestleMania tickets. We've got a video to recap here. Let's take a look.
Coach Keith Morrison, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's my second Top Guy Rumble. It clips everything. It's all about family. It's all about friendship. It's all about wrestling. And if you all about that, you should subscribe to be a top guy. I'm telling you, it's worth it. I guarantee you will have fun.
We are here at the Top Guy Tussle, the Top Guy Rumble here in Huntsville. And wow, being a part of this amazing community for the past 5 years, it is all about just making friends, bringing friends, that whole community of people. If you are a wrestling fan, you love the nostalgia, you love the current, be a part of this group. What an amazing weekend we've had. We've got to be in the ring with some of the top unsigned wrestlers in the country for the Top Guy Tussle, as also see our legends, our heroes, do seminars and just amazing share stories with us. So guys, be a top guy today, and I'll catch you on After Show.
Sound like everybody had a good time?
Man, it's the ultimate weekend for a wrestling fan, and one you should be a part of next time. Right now, Ad-Free Shows is offering 50% off your first month for being a Top Guy member over at adfreeshows.com. Just be sure to use our promo code TOPGUY50. That's promo code TOPGUY50 at adfreeshows.com. Come try it, man. Be a part of the community. See what you think. And we hope to see you next year at Top Guy Rumble. But that's what we're talking about today, man, is the Royal Rumble, Jim, all the way back in 2004. This is a pay-per-view that we've not yet covered. And man, it's a pretty important time in the company because we're on the way to build WrestleMania 20. How did we get there? Well, of course, WrestleMania season really officially gets kicked off with the Royal Rumble in 04. I want to ask you, Jim, as best you recall, did you guys know before the turn of the year, hey, next year at WrestleMania, we're going to have a changing of the guard. There's going to be a paradigm shift. We're going to have Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit be our world champions for that Mania. We know that things are going to really change for Eddie Guerrero in February when he beats Brock Lesnar. But do you think that we had any of that in mind before the start of the year, whether it's Eddie Guerrero beating Brock Lesnar and being in the main event at WrestleMania, or it's Chris Benoit being the man? Did you know that at the turn of the year?
Well, there was casual discussions about it, but nothing confirmed. That was a decision Vince made late in the day, so to speak. But I agreed with it. I thought it was the right thing to do. It was like you said, a changing of the guard, and I thought it was timely and deserved. Talents deserved it. You know, Eddie and Benoit certainly paid their dues, and I know we don't talk a lot about Benoit nowadays because of how his life ended, and his actions in his last days were not good, obviously, to say the least. So, but I thought it was time, and I thought it made sense. And I signed both those guys, so I had great belief in Guerrero and Benoit, even though neither one were 6 feet tall. It's somebody that's just starting our show for the first time today might not understand. Height is a big deal in WWF or WWE. It's a big deal. But I thought they shouldn't be judged by how tall they were, but by how well they worked in the ring. And they were both amazing performers. And it's just amazing to me to think that they're neither one are no longer with us. And they were young guys when they passed away. So I thought it was timely, but I was a little surprised that Vince pulled the trigger on it that way. But those guys delivered big time at that preceding WrestleMania, I thought, and did a great job. So good stuff, man. It was good.
I think the show in San Jose at the beginning of December 2003 might be the time when Vince is trying to figure out, hey, what are we going to do with Benoit? Meltzer would recap that episode of SmackDown saying this was the Chris Benoit show. His title match with Brock Lesnar was 4.25 stars and among the best television matches on WWE this year. Benoit had to beat John Cena to get the title shot and wrestled nearly 30 minutes of the 2-hour show. While the ratings may say differently, from a live perspective, this worked. The crowd was going nuts at the end of the main event, and it was the work in the match that did it. Benoit passed out from the pain, refusing to tap, and the ref stopped the match in 15 minutes and 45 seconds, similar to the finish of Austin and Brett at WrestleMania 13. Benoit finally recovered after being out for a little while, limped, and got something of a standing ovation. It was clear they were trying to do the same spot as the Royal Rumble, and it worked. But not completely, as a lot of the crowd was rushing for the exits and not paying attention to it. This is more of a focus on Benoit, largely because there's almost nobody else to push at this point. But this move should have been made more than 3 years ago. But if the ratings hold up for this show, built around the title, wrestling, and a serious Benoit chase, it says something on the show with very little interview time and no McMahons. So it is interesting to see. It does feel like they're just testing the waters to see, hey, can we get this guy over? Can the fans get with it? Will they get behind him? And they do. Were you surprised that the fans got with it for Benoit here?
No, absolutely not. I thought it was time, and he was deserving. He could carry the load. He was a stud, and so was Eddie, for God's sakes. So I just looked at it as we had two of the best workers in the business worldwide, and we had the opportunity to put them in a very positive light if we chose to. That decision was made. It was the right decision, and I was really happy for those guys. The closing moments of that WrestleMania that followed this Royal Rumble we're talking about was just emotional. It was really good. I still think about it sometimes. It's good stuff. So guys should get a chance, and they got a chance, and they came through and delivered.
The following week, they're going to tape SmackDown in San Diego, and it opens with Paul Heyman coming out and announcing that Benoit will never get another title shot at Brock Lesnar as long as he's general manager. Of course, that builds our story for the Royal Rumble. If Chris Benoit wants another world title shot, he's going to have to win the Rumble in order to do that. Or so we think. Now, we know that's not the way it works, but with the benefit of hindsight at the time, that is what we were thinking. And I just want to do a PSA right now for anyone who rents. If you haven't heard of Bilt, man, you're about to thank me. Earning points on rent is now reality when you pay your rent through Bilt. You don't even have to check with your landlord to start earning points that you can use towards flights, hotel stays, fitness classes, and even your next rent payment. Let me break it down for you. There's no cost to join Bilt, and as a member, you'll earn valuable points on rent and on your everyday spending. Bilt points can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, even the ones you haven't heard of. There are over 500 airlines and over 700,000 hotels and properties around the world that you can redeem using your Bilt points. Points can also be redeemed towards a future rent payment and unique experiences that only Bilt members can access. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, why not? Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbilt.com/JR. That's joinbilt.com/JR. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. That's joinbilt.com/JR. Start earning points towards your rent payments today.
Makes sense to me. It's logical.
Why not? Go check it out.
Yeah, why not?
Let's talk a little bit about the blueprint. It's going to be Morgan's OVW nickname, and he makes a debut here on Velocity, and Josh Matthews is calling him that. They're also mentioning that Vince Carter and Kevin Garnett have both played him one-on-one in pickup games, and he picked up the win. I thought that was a tip of the cap. That sounded like some good old JR nugget in there.
Yeah.
We know that Matt Morgan, has the right look to be a major player in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think he was missing that didn't click with Vince? Or was it just he never got that relationship with Vince? Or was there something else?
I think he didn't connect with the audience more than anything, because Vince would have loved that size look if Matt had been more accessible from his personality standpoint. Good kid. I think he lives here in Jacksonville now. I'm not sure, but I think that's right. But he's always well mannered, represented himself well. He was exactly what we were looking for, but it just, at some point, you had to connect to the audience, and he didn't. And that was his issue. He looked great, good guy, but other than that, he was, it just didn't click, Connie. He had the look, the intelligence, and sometimes all those intangibles just don't add up for whatever reason. It's unfortunate, but Matt was still a good kid, and it just didn't work out for him.
I want to ask you a little bit about Jerry McDevitt. It's written in the Observer that after doing a deposition in the Larry Zbyszko, Chris Jericho living legend trademark lawsuit, Bruno was asked by Jerry McDevitt about the possibility of doing WrestleMania. And unlike when Sammartino did depositions in the past, McDevitt was beyond nice to him this time and told him that Vince doesn't hate him. He never hated him, and he wants to honor him. McDevitt even told Sammartino that, hey, WrestleMania is already sold out at the Garden, so we're really legitimately trying to honor you and not use your name to sell tickets. But Bruno was quick to remind him that WrestleMania is now about getting people to buy pay-per-views, and that's not sold out. Dave would write, I don't know if he was specifically being asked about going into the Hall of Fame or if that's going to happen, but that sounds like where they were going. Sammartino didn't accept or decline the invitation, and this is back in late 2003. We know ultimately he does accept the WWE honoring him in 2013. How close do you think you guys got in 2004?
Pretty close. Bruno just couldn't make his mind up what he wanted to do. We honored that because of the respect that we had for him. He had the right and had earned the right to be selective, cautious, but it was inevitable that he would be in the Hall of Fame sooner than later, and very well deserved, for God's sakes. If Bruno Sammartino is not in your Hall of Fame, then it's not much of a Hall of Fame, in my opinion. So I had great respect and admiration for Bruno, and I got to know him better during this whole process. Him being from my late wife Chan's hometown of Pittsburgh, in the same basic neighborhood, actually. He was a favorite of mine, and I'm glad it worked out for him because he's a super guy. And I noticed a lot of stuff on Facebook had interviews with Bruno. Bruno was a great interviewer. He was logical. He spoke well. So I always had a lot of time for Bruno. And it was a sad day that he passed. I thought the son of a gun would live forever because he was in great shape. He trained hard. He did cardio, which a lot of wrestlers don't do. And so he was always one of my favorites. I thought he did a great job. And we love Bruno without question.
Well, we know ultimately Hunter helps gets it done. And who's getting it done behind the scenes, believe it or not, in this Jericho Trish Stratus story is that we find out it's been largely written by Jericho with help from Trish. And that jumped off the page to me. I just assumed this was probably Brian steering the ship. It doesn't shock me that Jericho had a lot of input, but I was surprised to hear that Trish was helping with this. How involved was she with her creative, as best you recall? This is cool to learn.
Well, she learned going forward that she had an opportunity to contribute to the creative. Every talent has the opportunity to create talent, to create an interest in their angle, their storyline. And she explored that. She knew that this was something that she could be involved in. And I thought it was great. No talent, if you allow the talent, and they're all allowed, just some are too damn lazy to invest in their own program, which is sad. But she played that card. she was involved, and I thought that was just great because it made the whole storyline better. Anytime a talent can contribute to the creative, your chances of making it work are amplified. And she's smart. I saw online this week where she's celebrating her 25th year in the wrestling business. Why can't she be a good booker? There's no reason. You sure as hell can't stop it because of her gender. That's for sure. So she was involved and in a very good way, not a troublemaking way, but a positive, creative way. And she pulled it off really well.
Let's talk about Eugene. This is before we're seeing the debut of Eugene character. He doesn't actually debut until April of 04. But in January of 04, the WWE runs an interesting article on WWE.com. The headline is, Dinsmore gets WWE opportunity, but no guarantees. Boy, that sounds like he's got the deck stacked against him. But if you know his story, you know that Jim Cornette was on record as saying, Nick has actually been the best guy we have for in-ring work for all this time, and he hasn't gone up. He's excellent in the ring. He's a wonderful kid. He's got 7 years experience behind him now. All I can say is better late than never. But remember now, it's been a crowded crop down there at OVW. They've pushed out projects like Batista, John Cena, Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin. And now it took a while, but Nick Dinsmore is finally going to get his opportunity. But this headline, Dinsmore gets opportunity but has no guarantees, doesn't really feel like the right way to welcome a guy in. And listen, they stick him with John Heidenreich when he's having some tryout matches, which is probably challenging. It feels like the deck was stacked against Nick Dinsmore, and we know he's going to get a gimmick that he does is to the best of his abilities. It always feels like there's a glass ceiling there, but do you think Dinsmore is one of the great what ifs? Because it seems like everybody was pulling for him and was a fan of him behind the scenes, but he just came in with bad timing maybe, or is it something else?
I don't know, Con. That's a good question. Timing is everything, as we all know. So I don't know how to answer that question. He did have all the intangibles. He could work. He was reliable. He was entertaining. Had a good personality. But his gimmick as Eugene was a little weak. It wasn't layered. It was a little tough. So, but he did his. Let me put it this way: Nick Dinsmore did all he could do to get over and make this thing work. And but his character, the Eugene character, did have a ceiling. It was not taken seriously, and because it wasn't taken seriously by the audience, it wasn't taken seriously by Vince.
Well, something that Vince is going to take seriously is Goldberg. It's written in the Observer that he's in the company plans through WrestleMania, but nothing after that. Goldberg just recently told the office he wants to fulfill his contractual commitments, and he also wants to change some of the negative perceptions of him regarding a new contract. No talks have started, and it's sort of freestyled. There's no chance the company is going to offer him the same money. They don't feel like they got a proper return, and they don't think there's any chance that Goldberg will accept less money. So the assumption is he's going to finish up at WrestleMania. He's going to go work a Pride show, and maybe he'll work a couple of matches in Japan, do a Tokyo Dome show or that sort of thing. But it feels like he's content to leave, and WWE is content to see him go. How disillusioned do you think Goldberg was with WWE? Was it wrestling as a whole? Was it just never the right fit with the benefit of hindsight?
I think it just was the right fit at the time. Bill is a smart guy. He knows what he wants. He knows what he can deal with and what he can't. He's great attraction. And I think how he booked Goldberg as an attraction, meaning that he was, seen less, but meant more, was accurate. He didn't need to be on every television. He didn't need to be overexposed. Bill Goldberg was an attraction wrestler. And we've used this analogy many times. He was an Andre the Giant type. The less you see, the better he is. And Goldberg was that way. So, but I'm glad that we had a run with him. And I wish we had more, but, just come to terms on the money and the dates and all the things and how many shows am I going to work. All those things were on the table. And he just, he fulfilled his obligations. He did everything where he was asked to do. But he's an attraction guy. His in-ring skills were somewhat limited, but they were good enough to sell tickets and draw houses and pay-per-views and so forth. But he needed he needed help in that respect. He needed to be involved. And we tried to get him involved in that situation, but he was an attraction. People liked him. People paid attention to him. So, but I'm glad we had that opportunity to work with Bill. He added to the program.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the discussions at the time, because Meltzer would report here in very early January. Internet reports that Triple H would defend his title against the Rumble winner at Mania, and the winner would come from the SmackDown roster, with the SmackDown title being about Lesnar versus Goldberg, are true based on what we've been hearing for some time. Of course, anything can change. It said the winner of the Rumble would have been decided already, because almost the entire top of the Mania card was done more than a month back, with the idea of building to booking everything to get there right. And that just feels interesting to me, because that's just a month after they're trying the Benoit thing and laying out, hey, he's never going to get a title shot. But we know those plans change, because Lesnar and Goldberg are both going to be finishing up. But that's interesting to me, because I could see how that would have affected Eddie Guerrero, but to see that it would have also affected Chris Benoit, interesting.
How so?
Well, I mean, the idea that you tell that story with Chris Benoit and the only way for him to get that title shot is to win the Royal Rumble. But the speculation is that, they really want to put together Goldberg and Lesnar for the other belt. I don't know. I find that interesting. It feels like if Lesnar was going to have an opponent based on the story they told, that would be Benoit. And if anything, it would have been, Goldberg and Triple H, but that's not the case. It's just interesting.
Yeah, interesting booking, no doubt. I still agree that we were going in the right direction.
Oh yeah.
I still like I still like Benoit and Eddie getting their proverbial flowers at that event. God knows they deserved it, and they could do the work. I thought it was good for the business in general. You had two undersized guys that just worked their ass off, and we all enjoyed their work. So then I just don't recall those guys ever having a bad match, and they delivered. I thought that WrestleMania that came after that Royal Rumble was just outstanding.
Well, let's talk about some other news and notes heading into the show. There's an episode of Raw where Coach is just being brutal to you, harassing you on commentary the entire time. And it comes out in the torch that really this is just Vince messing with you.
Yeah.
And an insider has told Wade, go listen to Coach call Monday night or Sunday Night Heat, and then listen to him call Raw, and you can hear the Vince influence. So it's not Coach picking on or bullying Jim Ross. It's Vince McMahon doing it through Coach, and JR knows that.
Yeah.
And Raw is Vince's playground, and this is what he wants to do, so he's going to. And it doesn't matter if production people like it, or that's just what we're going to do. And this toxicity is something we heard a lot associated with you, and this sort of weird love-hate dynamic that Vince, I guess, appeared to have for you. But this with Coach is weird because Coach is almost openly mocking you for being a wrestling fan and caring about wrestling stories and not being above it all, which is exactly what you don't want your lead announcer to do. Like, you want that guy to be engaged and to be a fan. But it's just weird. Like, anything Vince could do to bust your balls, he would. But you knew this isn't Coach. This is Vince, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was never angry at Coach. He was in a different world, a different universe that he was not comfortable being in. But he did the best that he could. I had no issues with Coach whatsoever. Never did. Don't today. But it was Vince. He for whatever perverse reason he had in busting my balls, he took advantage of because he could, and nobody could do anything about it. So I realized that early on, Connie, and I just accepted it. This is how it is. So you can either deal with it and survive, or you can revolt and not survive. I chose surviving and earning those paychecks.
We got to talk about Joni Lauer. Of course, we knew her as Chyna. She's listed in the Guinness Book of World Records here for the year 2000. And they're going to say that she made $1 million in 2000. Of course, Dave says that book doesn't have a lot of credibility, but he does believe she earned around $800K in 2000, which would be the most money any woman in the history of wrestling has ever earned. Do you think she ever had $1 million year, Jim, as best you can recall?
Yeah, I think she had one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she had one. But the company was hot. I don't know why it sticks out in my mind, but we had like 20 people. Now, I might be off 2 or 3, but we had 20 people, to the best of my memory, that made $1 million or more that year. And so, and she was one of them. She was booked regularly. She was in key elements, key stories. But that was her whole issue. She wanted $1 million a year guarantee, same as Stone Cold. And I just believe that that was not equitable. I thought that you may earn more than that. There's no ceiling on no ceiling on what you can earn, but to guarantee you that is not in the cards. And at the end of the day, that's what created us parting ways. We were not going to go for the $1 million guarantee, and she didn't like that. Thought it was unfair, and she had a right to think that, but we didn't agree, and so consequently we parted ways a little bit later on.
Let's talk a little bit about some meetings that Vince holds before Raw and SmackDown in January. He gets the whole crew together, all the talent, and he says that we're going to have these meetings on a more regular basis before the tapings. And you're going to get up and do a speech as well and put over the importance of protecting kayfabe and talking about how in years past, guys who were working in programs together didn't travel together or hang out together. And we're going to have to start being more professional. If you can't show up on time, we've got to start instituting fines. And it's described as more of a Vince Lombardi style speech. And you
from me?
Yes.
Wow.
And it said that the company's going to start critiquing television matches. And then at Raw, we have another meeting and we tell the talent, hey, go watch that Triple H Shawn Michaels match. It is a perfect example of a great wrestling match getting both people over. And some of this rubs people the wrong way. And
why would that be? Why would it rub them the wrong way?
I think professional jealousy aimed at Shawn and Hunter.
There you go. So it's a negative motivation, a negative scenario, Conrad. I mean, come on, bullshit. Those guys had a great match, and it deserved to be flowered, shall we say? It is the work and the outcome and the results deserve to be highlighted, And at least that's what I think. I thought it was just a tremendous presentation. So pointing that out to me didn't matter. It's like you said, professional jealousy is a strong element, and that's all that was. So if you want to complain, maybe work your ass off a little harder. Maybe improve your game. Maybe make your game better. And some took that at heart, and a lot of others took it personally, and didn't want to play ball.
It's written here that it's official. Sable and Tori Wilson will be the dual cover girls in the March Playboy as a co-promotion with WrestleMania. Of course, this was a huge seller, a huge hit, hugely successful. But what a great strategy to have this come out around the same time as WrestleMania. How was your relationship with Playboy in this era?
Good. We sold magazines, and we produced. So it was good, and Sable and Tori were, as I recall, were easy to work with. They knew that they were going to get some prime real estate with their image on it. The cover of Playboy was nothing to scoff at. And so it was a good situation. And it created a great payday for those two ladies.
Speaking of ladies, Melina Perez, she is going to get signed. She's going to get her opportunity. This is the era where that happens. She tried out for Tough Enough 3, but didn't crack the final 13. She's been working on independence on the West Coast. And, well, she was a swimsuit model for Hawaiian Tropics, and now she's got a shot with WWE. Finishing up with WWE, though, will be Roger Marmont, who was the company's executive vice president in charge of the international markets.
Never heard of him.
Wow. Okay.
That's how Roger was positioned. I'm sure Roger did a good job. I don't know Roger, but I have no relationship with him. So he wasn't keenly involved to the level that everybody would know his name. And that doesn't mean he wasn't doing a good job, just that our paths crossed very seldomly.
Let's talk a little bit about Fit Finlay. It's written that Fit Finlay is going to take a more active role in helping down in OVW and helping train some of the women.
Yeah.
And we know that he has become synonymous with that. Once upon a time, the WWE was just all about eye candy. And when we start to develop that into a real wrestling division, call it the Divas era, if you will, you've got to have some wrestling influence there. It can't just be pretty girls. There's got to be some in-ring action. Who better to be that guy than Fit Finlay, right?
Yeah, he had a birthday last week. Happy belated birthday to Fit. A good guy, always did his work, old school values. And that included everything involved in becoming a pro wrestler. So it was good to get fit with those women. And he improved that era and that area tremendously. He did a great job. I can't think of anybody offhand. I'm sure there are others that would be qualified, but I can't think of anybody offhand that was a better choice to work with the ladies than Fit. And the ladies were a big commitment. It was something that Vince wanted to develop. He thought the marketability of the females was significant, and Fit did a hell of a job in wrangling the chickens, shall we say, in that scenario.
We should mention that Batista is one of the first people who comes out loud and proud putting over Fit as a trainer. He says, "I learned so much in 2 days. There's no insult to anyone who trained me. I'm just saying I learned more with Fit in 2 days than I learned in the previous 2 years. He's just that good. He makes everything real simple. He's not real big on flash. He taught me a lot about aggression. He's just awesome. I can't say enough nice things about Fit." So let's give Fit some flowers. And hey, let's give some flowers to Mando too. It is the best whole body deodorant in the world, and it's safe to use anywhere on your body. When I say anywhere, I mean anywhere. your pits, your balls, your thigh folds, your belly buttons, your butt cracks, your feet. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was just being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It's been clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. You get a variety of different options too. Solid's deodorant stick. It's formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts. And then a spray deodorant. It's aluminum free and ideal for hard to reach places. All their products are baking soda free and paraben free. You get to choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. It's been clinically proven to control odor better than better than just a shower with soap alone. See, 12 hours after a shower, the average man's grundle odor is a 5 out of 10. But with Mando, the average grundle odor level is a 0 out of 10. And if you want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant formula right now, I want to tell you, you can find them in Walmart, Target, and other retailers across the country. But for the very best deals and to support our show, go to shopmando.com. That's where you'll see that Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with that solid stick deodorant and the cream tube deodorant. Plus, you've got 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And as a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That's like over 40% off your starter pack when you use the code JR at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando.
I took my Mando with me on my trip to the UK. It worked like a champion.
Hell yeah.
I didn't stink, and I like that. So, but it makes you feel better. It makes you feel healthier, fresher, good stuff. So I encourage you to check it out. It's the best deodorant that I've ever used by far.
Check it out. You'll be glad you did. Shopmando.com. Use that promo code JR. It comes out in a newspaper article. It's a local area newspaper for Victoria. And she writes that her, Stacy, Gail Kim, and Jackie Gata are traveling together to save expenses. So this is before the payroll really exploded on the ladies' side too. The Torch would report that Taz is being urged to be more of an antagonist with Cole on commentary. He feels like they're just agreeing too much and it's taking an edge away from the program. And Vince, I guess, feels the same way about you and Jerry Lawler, which is why he put Coach into the mix the last few weeks. You and I haven't spent a lot of time talking about this, but in AEW, they have had heelish color commentators before, but not really the cartoon version of I'm the bad guy commentator, so I hate all the baby faces.
Right.
Do you have I know that some of that has had to change with the times, but what is the right mix? Do you like a little bit of combativeness undertone between the two, or is that sort of old school and out of fashion now?
No, I think it's important to have a contrast. A protagonist and an antagonist work in a match. They work at the announce table. As long as you don't go too far with it and it takes away from the match, fulfilling your own agenda. But Vince liked the controversy. Hello. He liked that. He likes it. And someday, if he does another wrestling company, I'll guarantee you the announcers will be combative to some degree, if that's what he decides to do. So I agree with that. It was just hard for Lawler and I to get there because of our long-term existence. But Lawler had no trouble adapting to it whatsoever, because he could come back with one-liners and zingers and all these things to show that he didn't always agree with what I said. And I think it's good for the broadcast. I really do. Nigel McGuinness does a good job of that in a subtle way in AEW. A real good job. And I really like working with Nigel. I had a really enjoyable collision a couple of weeks back with Tony, Shivani, Nigel McGuinness, and myself. And I'd love to do more of that. That collision was good for me. The show felt good. It got great feedback from the audience. So all that was fun. That was fun. But I do agree that there's got to be some kind of contrast. Everybody can't agree with everybody, but you don't have to make it personal. Keep it on the game. Keep it on the wrestling.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the rest of the world. Every major Japanese promotion, including K1, Pride, All Japan, New Japan, and Noah, within the past 2 months has made some sort of a bid to get WWE talent for major shows in 2004. The company philosophy right now is to do one Raw and one SmackDown tour in Japan per year, and the feeling is that anything more would dilute the product. There's no interest in sending talent to work for Japanese promotions. Most have approached with the idea of paying big money to bring in top stars to lose to their native stars, which WWE isn't interested in. Noah's trying to get Lesnar and Angle for the Tokyo Dome show in August, but there's no interest. Pride wants the WWE rep at its Grand Prix tournament this year, and Angle or Lesnar would be the preferable choice. Well, nobody has given me any figures. My guess would be Pride is willing to pay huge money because they know that it would take that to get stars of that level to participate in shoot matches. But there's just no way that's going to happen. Do you remember any of these offers coming in from Japan? And was it just an automatic no from Vince?
Yeah, I remember them. And it was an automatic no. To send our guys over to lose was not in the cards. If it made sense booking wise, them losing was not an issue. But them losing simply to get their Japanese talent over was another matter to discuss. So it was just old school thinking. And our thoughts were, well, if you're going to bring our top guys over, there's no reason that you can't be a smart booker and work out something that extends the storyline and not just a one-off defeat. So I remember it being discussed, but we just weren't that interested in that scenario. It just was old school to a fault, shall we say.
Let's talk a little bit about Paul Heyman. It's written in the Observer that he's going to be back being a bigger part of creative again, even though he just recently said he's been sent home. This is one of those back and forths.
Well, he needed to be in creative, Conrad. Paul Heyman's a brilliant guy. He can be a pain in the ass. There's no doubt about that. And I say that lovingly. I'm the guy that picked him out of the herd in WCW and put him with myself to broadcast. And we had that angst and that anxiety facet to our presentation. But he just, he's too valuable not to use. You just have to tolerate his dalliances, his idiosyncrasies. He can be hard to get along with. I told Paul on the car trip one day, I said, God damn, you're easy to hate. And he looked at me and, just in a terrible way. I said, that was a compliment, by the way. You're a heel. Not unlike people saying, I used to hate Triple H. Well, I've never hated Triple H. Why would I hate a guy that helped sign? It just makes no sense. So, but Triple H was a villain all those years. And I wanted to make sure that I did all I could from my role as a broadcaster to position him as such, as a villain, as a hated individual, as a hated personality. His persona could not be embraced. And that's all that was. But Heyman could be very challenging. But when I was the guy that picked him out of the pile, as I said, and everybody else didn't want to work with him, I did want to work with him because I knew there was some magic there. So you want Paul Heyman on your side and on your team as best you can. It's just good for business. And Paul Heyman is good for business.
Let's talk more about some of these Vince McMahon meetings he's having before the tapings. One of the things he's going to be pushing for a couple of weeks here is we've got to start paying more attention to the referees. The wrestlers have to respect the position of the referees. The argument is if we need consistency in all the matches, so when the heels cheat, it's effective. But if we're sort of willy-nilly with the rules, we're making it really hard for the heels to establish that they're heels. So in an effort to try to follow what Vince is saying, one of the referees actually finishes the match on a DQ because he was trying to do what Vince said to do, but that was not the planned finish, and people are upset about that. How much of this do you remember being an issue? Because this does feel like a JR type thing. Hey, we've got to respect the referees. I could see where this would be a hard line for you too. But after being so sort of willy-nilly with this for a few years, it was probably an adjustment, right?
Yeah, guys got lazy. They abused the referees. They didn't respect them. It went on, but it was the shits. Referees are just pawns. And instead of using them to your advantage, the talents use them to take shortcuts. And that's never good. Shortcuts are just not good at all. So I was for the respecting the referees and give them more credence, as in Creedence Clearwater Revival, John Fogerty, Run Through the Jungle, and that's it. I don't know. I just thought we took too many years to abuse the referees when the referees could have been one of the talent's greatest assets if they had chosen to work in that direction. So it was hard to re-educate the audience, the fans, and the referees. It just wasn't that complicated, but it was more complicated than it should have been.
At some point during one of the SmackDown meetings, McMahon says something along the lines of, some of the talent has to do things better, or some of them might be flipping burgers in a few months.
There you go.
And the source that tells that to Wade says that rubs some of the guys the wrong way. It's not the best approach to take if he wants to help motivate people, which seemed to be
That's bullshit right there. What Wade said, Conrad, God damn it. What Wade said was bullshit in that respect. It's not hard. You change, you fix it. You just don't ignore it. So, well, it's passe. Oh, bullshit. It's not passe. It's timely. Use the referee to your advantage. Let him work for you as opposed to you working for him, and make it make sense.
Well, hang on. We're not talking about referees, but Vince saying, hey, some of you guys are going to be flipping burgers in a few months. That's not a motivator. That's a demotivator.
Really?
You were motivated when Vince said, if you don't do a good job tonight, I'm firing your ass.
He never said that to me, but yeah, that would be true.
It just feels
but
like
I look at it as a challenge, and a challenge to do better and to refine your work. But no, we've been too easy on these guys for all these years, and at least that's my thought at the time. Maybe it wasn't talent friendly, but goddamn, how much babysitting can you do, Conrad?
Yeah.
How much you're okay? Don't worry, we'll take care of it. Bullshit. Yeah, be responsible, and that's all we were asking. Be responsible and understand and know your role.
Well, let's talk about Trish Stratus. Among the wrestlers who spoke up on the January 12th meeting Raw were Trish, Hunter, Tommy Dreamer, Lance Storm, and Earl Hebner. And in response to McMahon's reaction to Trish's question at the open forum, says one colleague, quote, she was made to feel stupid. She shouldn't have been. She made a good point, end quote. Trish was arguing that house shows would draw better if the lineup reflected what was happening on TV more closely. Plus, crowds would be more into the matches if there was a storyline behind them. So this seems like a good point that Trish has, but I guess it's met with some unkind words from Vince. And I wonder, were these Vince's meetings or were these Vince's beatings?
Seasons meetings.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I took that as a personal assault, and Trish and I have always had a great relationship, but I booked the fucking house shows, and the house shows followed the television. If Stone Cold had a big match on TV with Triple H, let's say, we're going to follow that into the house shows. And so I disagree with her point on that deal. She's right in theory that the events at the live events should follow the house show. The house show should follow what we see on TV. But on TV, you're booking in depth 2 or 3 matches deep, and you can't put together an entire card with 2 or 3 matches. That could be your foundation, but it can't be the total picture. So I took exception to that. It wasn't accurate. And, by the way, we were drawing money. We're selling lots of tickets at that era, if you recall.
Let's talk about some of the other notes from a Raw meeting. This is from the Torches report. McMahon said he's been dying for someone to grab the brass ring and become the new top-tier star. A lot of wrestlers groaned at that, saying to themselves, the only rings that have value in WWE are won by Triple H and Stephanie. Regarding Vince, saying multiple times that he wanted everyone to look at Shawn and Hunter as the model match to emulate, one wrestler says, to say work like those guys, but you only have 3 or 5 minutes to do, it's unrealistic. Asking us to work like Triple H and Shawn Michaels did is fine, but when will we get 2 or 3 match segments to build to a TV match like they did? It's impossible to do what Vince wants us to do in the time we're usually given. And this isn't the first time we've been told this. Last year, basically the same thing was said. And when some of the wrestlers did what they were told, they got chewed out by the agents after the matches for losing the crowd or pacing themselves too slowly. Then everyone just goes back to the way things were. It's really just a mixed message for all of us, and it's very frustrating. This is an interesting report, whoever's talking to Wade. And I see their point. Hey, man, it's hard to go out there and have a 25-minute match and get over with the crowd with your work and build each other up if you've got 5 minutes, including ring entrances.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
You gotta adapt and stop making fucking excuses. Make that 5 minutes scintillating shit as best you can. Go all out. Create an aura of that 5-minute presentation. And that's what you have the opportunity to do on a big television stage. But everybody's got an excuse. Everybody's looking for a reason, just like this, why they're not successful. What have you done differently? Are you a good enough worker to make that 5 minutes of time a good investment by the company and by yourself? A lot of guys said no. That was their excuse. And I ain't got no place in my game for excuses.
Brian Kendrick is going to come to work on January 13th and ask for his release. He's been concerned about the possibility of getting fired. He's not really thrilled with how much money he's been making. And when he started to think about what would I do if I did get fired, it wasn't as bad as he thought, because he realized he could get his job back with 0-1, and he wants to leave. And it's written in the Torch that he, quote unquote, just decided to beat the cuts. Why do you think Brian Kendrick in his second run here in WWE didn't enjoy more success? I mean, it felt like once upon a time, man, hey, this guy, was it just bad timing?
His lack of size is going to limit his ascension. He was a junior heavyweight. He was a cruiserweight, whatever weight you want to say. That's what he was. Good talent, but he was never going to draw big money being 160 pounds. Just was not going to happen.
Well, if you're not going to draw big money, maybe you can save big money with our friends at Rocket Money. The start of the new year is a perfect time to get organized, set those goals, and prioritize what matters most. And for me, the top priority is financial wellness, and that feels more important than ever. And thanks to Rocket Money, my goals feel achievable. They show me all of my subscriptions right in one place and help me easily cancel ones I forgot that I've been paying for. Rocket Money also pulls together all of my spending across all my different accounts so I can clearly track my spending habits and see where I can cut back. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that will help find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spendings, and help you lower those bills so you can grow your savings. By seeing all of your subscriptions in one place, you'll know exactly where all of your money's going. And for the ones you don't want anymore, Rocket Money can help you cancel them. Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of your expenses across all of your accounts. You can easily create a personalized budget with custom categories to help you keep track on your spending. You'll see your monthly spending trends in each category so you know exactly where your money is going. You'll even get alerts if bills increase in price. Maybe there's unusual spending activity, or if you're getting close to going over budget. And the new goals feature automatically saves money for you so you don't have to think about it. So you can help pay off credit card debt, put away some money for a house, or just build your savings. Man, Rocket Money just makes it all easy. Rocket Money will even try to help you negotiate to lower your bills for you. They automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save, and then you can ask them to negotiate on your behalf. They deal with customer service. You don't even have to do it. Rocket Money has over 5 million users. They've saved people more than $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when you use all of the app's premium features. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/JR today. That's rocketmoney.com/JR.
One of the great, sorry, Conrad, I'm sorry. It's one of the great apps out there. It's just tremendous. What they can do for you as an individual is amazing. So check it out. It costs, as I say oftentimes, it costs nothing to look. Rocketmoney.com/JR is your way to go, and it will save you money, and that's important. Why not save money and get organized with Rocket Money?
Do it, man. Rocketmoney.com/JR. You'll be glad you did. So let's talk about it, man. We're finally here. What a big Royal Rumble it was. Royal Rumble 2004. It went down January 25th at the Wachovia Center in Philadelphia. It's a show designed to elevate Chris Benoit and set up some WrestleMania programs, but somehow the timing of the show was an issue, and they only had 6 minutes for the world title match. But no issue here. $1.1 million at the gate. That's nearly a Royal Rumble record. And we know what they just did this year. My goodness. There was a sellout, 17,289 fans. And this is a big show. Let's talk about it. We had one dark match. We've got Victoria winning a non-title match over Molly Holly in 4 minutes and 55 seconds. And now it's time for the actual pay-per-view. And we're going to start it hot, man. We've got Ric Flair and Batista teaming up to retain their tag titles over Bubba Ray and Devon. They go 4 minutes and 23 seconds. This is an interesting match, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even feel like Ric Flair should have ever been in a tag match with the Dudleys. It's like, how did that ever line up? But it happened here. Royal Rumble 2004. What do you think of that tag team, Batista and Ric Flair? That was kind of fun.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was good booking. It was quite the attraction. Adding Flair to the any equation is a good thing in my eyes. He gave a nice rub to Batista. They're working with one of the great tag teams of all time, and the Dudleys. So I had no issue with it, especially with the Dudleys in Philly is like stealing money. They're just they were that over. And of course, there you see Coach. If you're watching on YouTube, which we encourage you to do, Coach is getting a lot of airtime. And I guess JR was responsible for part of that because he was such a pain in my ass. Which ended up in a match, the Coach and I, at some point, a country whipping match, which is always fun to do because that way you can beat the shit out of each other with a leather strap, and that's just enjoyable as hell. I jest.
The comment from Dave in the Observer made me laugh. The only good thing was it took Coach off the rest of the broadcast. Match 2, we've got Rey Mysterio keeping the Cruiserweight title. He's going to pin Jamie Noble in 3 minutes and 12 seconds. They didn't have a bunch of time. Nitty is
No.
involved here, but ultimately the 619 gets it done. You know, Jamie Noble has got to be one of the more underrated guys. I mean, he didn't get a ton of opportunities, but when we did see him outside the WWE tent working as James Gibson in Ring of Honor, man, he was showing what he could really do.
Yeah, he's talented. Talented kid, no doubt.
Is it one of those things again where his size just was always going to hinder him in a Vince McMahon led WWE?
Somewhat, yeah, somewhat. But he was a great talent, great mind for the business. He's very involved now, and as I understand it, in WWE Creative as far as being an agent, put matches together. Really a good kid, and I've always had a lot of confidence in him. But he's been given the responsibilities of putting big matches together, and he always comes through seemingly to me. So he was going to give you a good match, and that's why he and Ray were in the spot they were in.
Match 3, man. What a big card this is. It's Eddie Guerrero and Chavo Guerrero. And Chavo has his father in his corner who's interfering freely. And this is pretty fun. I mean, the real story of the match is probably Chavo Sr., who is going to impress so much here that he actually gets a little bit of a run out of this. What'd you think of Chavo Classic getting a little shine here in this Eddie Guerrero Chavo match?
I love the Chavo Classic moniker, his handle. I work with Chavo in Mid-South. He's the first guy I ever saw do a moonsault, and it was a piece of art, a thing of beauty, no doubt. And I loved. I always like. Now he was headstrong. He could be hard-headed, but he was not a dumbass. When he complained about something, it generally, if it didn't borderline over into his own individual an analogy of something, if he was fair and the things he was saying made sense, then he was very good. He could have been a Booker type guy, but he was been around the business forever, from a famous family, and even at his age as Chavo Sr., he was very talented. So I'm glad that we got a little run out of him. It's good for him. Made a few paydays, got back on a national stage. Had to help him with his independent bookings and things of that nature.
Brock Lesnar is going to be out next, and he's going to pin Bob Holly to keep the SmackDown title in 6.5 minutes. It's a very physical match. Of course, this is all a match that was really born out of a real life situation. The real life story where Lesnar accidentally broke Bob's neck with a mistimed power bomb. And it's logical that we're going to have an opportunity to turn that into a match. And we do here, but well, doesn't go Bob Holly's way. He's going to miss flying body press, fisherman suplex from Lesnar's hit next. And then the dreaded band over the head, belly to belly. Holly comes back with the Alabama slam. He's working on a full Nelson. And when he puts it back on, Lesnar escapes, snaps Holly's neck on the top rope, hits an F5. We've got a sudden finish. And just like that, that's all she wrote. I wanted to ask you about the injury, though, because we haven't spent any time talking about that. What did you think of that move, the botched power bomb that broke Bob Holly's neck? I mean, there's the speculation out there that, hey, that wouldn't have happened unless Bob was sandbagging him. And I don't know if I believe that. I just think accidents happen.
Don't believe it, Conrad. Don't believe it. It was a fucking accident.
Yes.
Nobody set out to break somebody else's neck, for God's sakes. It's internet dirt talk. I love the dirt, Jim Barnett would say. But it was just an accident. That's all that was. There was no heat between. I would say that Lesnar probably has as much respect for Bob Holly as anybody on the roster, because Bob Holly was a tough bastard, and Brock respected that. And the other thing is, which I always felt to be enlightening, was the fact that Bob Holly was not intimidated by Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar knew that. It allowed them to have a more free-flowing, better match at least in my opinion. But that match was well placed. Goddamn, this is an all-star card. I can tell you that right now. Where were we? At Philadelphia, right?
Yeah.
So it's good. That was a fun show to call.
Next up, we've got a big match, man. It's Shawn Michaels and Triple H, but the finish is not what people wanted to see. They go 22 minutes and 46 seconds, but it ends in a double knockout. There is a point in the match where, as Michaels is blocking a pedigree, he sends Triple H over the top rope, and then Shawn goes for a springboard from the apron, like an acai moonsault into a crossbody. And Triple H moved, and Shawn crashes through the Spanish table. He's going to blade and bleed buckets. And it's really not anything unusual to see blood in a WWE match here or there. But this, man, they're covered in it. And Michaels is doing a great job of showing that, he's knocked down, but he's refusing to stay down and refusing to quit. He's going to keep getting up. And
he was being a babyface, Conrad.
Yes.
That's all. Nothing scientific, nothing romantic. He was being a fucking babyface, and babyfaces don't quit. No matter how bad they're busted open, they don't quit. And that's what ingratiates them to the audience. They never quit on me. And if you quit on your audience as a talent, then you're going to be disliked. Nobody likes to support and will not support a quitter.
Shawn is going to catapult Triple H into the post, hit him with a chair. Now Triple H is bleeding. There's blood everywhere. We're doing sleepers, but people are still answering the count at 9. We're hitting pedigrees. Shawn's answering the count at 9. Shawn hits a super kick. Both collapse, and neither man stands. Neither man's able to answer the bell. It's a double knockout. Fans are booing it.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand why they're booing it. What did they want? What do you think they wanted?
They wanted to cheer that someone won and boo that someone lost.
Well, there you have it. Another case of there you are, as Granny would say.
Yeah.
I saw both men battered, bruised, and bloodied. And their bodies did not support them. Their bodies forsake them. And they became prisoners of their own device, as the Eagles would say. And I don't know. I don't know what people want sometimes. It was logical. You got that much blood loss and that physical match, and both guys couldn't continue. Maybe I didn't do a good job of selling it. I don't know. I thought that I did.
Well, I mean, listen, they couldn't hear you live in the crowd that night. I mean, they're booing the non-finish, I think, even as they're putting the guys on the stretcher, like nobody's buying it. Maybe it's because the first time was a draw. I don't know, but I think they wanted to finish. But either way, we're on to the next segment. Bischoff's going to come down and announce that Raw's the better brand. We've got better entertainers and a better GM. Here comes Paul Heyman. They're arguing back and forth. As you might imagine, here comes Stone Cold. And we see there is a dressing room confrontation between Goldberg and Lesnar. Goldberg's doing an interview, and Lesnar is making fun of him for no longer being a champion. Goldberg is going to spook Lesnar by saying Bob Holly was there, and Goldberg is going to defend Mick Foley. And then we've got our match set up for the Royal Rumble. It's going to be Ross and Taz doing commentary. So you've got a Raw announcer and a SmackDown color commentator. What'd you think of working with Taz here for the Rumble main event?
I thought it was good, and I've always enjoyed working with Taz. He's a smart guy. He gets it. But I thought it was important for us to maintain a little bit, if nothing else, brand prejudice, so that one of us could be a babyface and one of us could be a heel. And considering that JR had all these years to establish his persona of being a fan favorite, so to speak, then Taz needed to be a heel. As I recall, he was. He did a good job. So look at me with that vest on. I look like James Garner in The Gambler or something. Look at that shit. What the fuck am I wearing? I must have lost a bet. Taz looked good. Taz loves his orange. Did you know that nobody in AEW is allowed to wear orange unless they get permission from Taz.
Yeah, I mean, he had to Orange Cassidy had to negotiate with Taz. He was almost going to have to become Apple Cassidy. That was almost the name, Apple Cassidy.
Yeah, that's it. So it was, but I had a good time working with Taz. He's fun. He's got a good sense of humor. But the key thing that Taz has, other than his big personality, is product knowledge.
Yeah.
When are we going to get through our heads that the people that make the most money, that sustain the longest careers, are those that have product knowledge? It's so simple. It's not even, it's so elementary. And so our guys, that was Taz and I think we both had product knowledge, and I enjoyed working with him. Lawler got to go to the bathroom.
Well, nothing wrong with that. Let's talk about it. Chris Benoit is going to win this damn thing in 61 minutes and 38 seconds. Jim, I know you're going to think this is a little silly, but there are actually people who watch the Royal Rumble with a stopwatch, and they want to see how long is it between intervals, because you guys announce it's 90-second intervals.
Yeah.
The match only lasts 61 minutes and 38 seconds. So we're not actually sticking to 90 seconds. So
have we ever stuck to anything like that?
I just don't.
Conrad. No.
What does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
No.
Watching the pay-per-view with a stopwatch in your hand. Give me a break. God damn. You can only imagine how those kind of people will live the rest of their life. Take it easy. Loosen up, Francis.
We see Kane out here chokeslamming Benoit and Morgan. It's noted in the Observer. Boy, Kane doesn't wear his lifts when he works in OVW because he's the same height as Morgan, but he's so much taller here in WWE, which makes me laugh. The Undertaker's music plays for an entrance. It's the old dead man music. Kane freaks out and Booker kicks him over the top rope in 1827. Spike Dudley's out next. Then Rene Dupree. He's only 20. But he's got a lot of potential, but he's in there just a few seconds.
He was Patterson's boy.
Yeah.
Patterson loved Dupree, and they'd had some experiences together with Dupree's father, Emil Dupree. And Pat used to work that territory for a few shots here, there, and yon over his long and illustrious career. But Pat was a big proponent of Dupree, and probably we just glossed over him. That's kind of been the story of his career, and it's unfortunate and unfair is that if I had a territory, I'd want Mr. Dudley in it. He's a star. He took the greatest ass whooping alive. He took huge fucking nasty, scary bumps. He can make a flat back bump look like a car wreck.
Yes.
And so I always had a big respect for Mr. Dudley. And he did great. That was good booking back in their day with the Dudleys, Bubba and Devon, and this cat.
Let's talk a little bit about the brawling on the ramp. Nunzio's going to be here. Foley's here. Foley is going to put Mr. Sacco on Nunzio. Orton's going to hit Foley with a low blow. Orton's going to run off, and Foley's right behind him. Nunzio's just going to decide to sit on the floor and not get in the ring. Lot of different talent coming in, and everyone starts doing all their finishers on Big Show. They're all doing spots where everyone in the ring is trying to throw him out. And it's maybe the old Andre Battle Royal spot. Big Show throws John Cena out in 53-12. Then Rob Van Dam is next, and here comes Jericho and Big Show. And eventually, when it's all said and done, Benoit's going to use the crossface. Big Show's tapping once again, but he's going to break it with a sidewalk slam. Show has Benoit over his head, and Benoit grabs a guillotine while on the apron. As Show is passing out, he's leaning over the ropes, and the momentum takes him over the top. Somehow, some way, Chris Benoit has eliminated the big, mean, nasty, now passed out giant. 3 3/4 stars, Chris Benoit, against all odds, best 29 other guys. What'd you think of this effort to build Benoit into a WrestleMania main eventer here.
Loved it. I loved it. You know, I really did. I thought it was a great booking, great performance. You know, Benoit got a great match out of Big Show. So hats off to both guys. They both did their job. They fulfilled their role. So it was some pretty good shit. I was going to call back on a piece of a couple of graphics back. I can't remember what I was exactly going to talk about, but it was, hey, Bull, show those graphics, the in-ring graphics that you just had there a minute or so ago.
So we've got Chris Benoit coming in at number 1. He's going to also lead in eliminations. He's got 6 eliminations. He goes the entire distance, starting number 1, lasting 1 hour, 1 minute, and 35 seconds. I mean, what a performance by Chris Benoit here.
Yeah, it was a great babyface performance. It was a star-making performance. And when you see him sometimes, if you're a fan of any repute, then you recognize you're seeing something special. On that night, we saw something very special out of Chris Benoit. Starting at number 1 and going post to post isn't easy. So good on him, and I wish his life had ended differently.
Well, listen, if you want to be a 60-minute man and go post to post, can I recommend BlueChew? Have some better sex with BlueChew, why don't you? BlueChew is the original brand offering chewable tablets, and these erection-enhancing tablets help men achieve stronger, harder, and longer-lasting erections for sexual activities. BlueChew is putting its money where its mouth is and offering you a month free. And their process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. BlueChew's tablets are made in the USA. They're prepared and shipped directly to your door, and you can take them anytime, day or night. So plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. And the best part is it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversation, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Make life easier by getting harder and discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of BlueChew free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank BlueChew for sponsoring today's podcast.
You think old JR took any BlueChew with him to the UK, Conrad?
Did you really?
They don't weigh much, so I can pack them.
Well, I mean, the real question is,
did you get to use them?
Did you play any games? You win any games over there? Any road games?
No, I did some recruiting, but it didn't work.
Well, I bet your home game's still pretty good.
Home game's good.
Yeah, and yours will be better if you go check it out. Go try BlueChew right now. Let them know JR sent you. BlueChew.com.
Can you imagine being 73 and horny?
Yeah, I can. I've got a friend. I got a friend like that.
Well, it's just nature.
Hey, it's just life, man.
Life, baby.
Hey, let's talk about Vince McMahon's meetings. He continues these meetings after the Rumble, before Raw and before SmackDown, and he's
on a fucking meeting frenzy.
I'm not happy with all these company leaks. And he's specifically quoting things that he's heard about in the Torch and the Observer. And he's asking for solidarity. And Brock Lesnar is up and being very vocal, speaking out against storyline leaks. He cited a radio show interview who recently asked him about a future match that hadn't even been announced yet for WrestleMania 20.
Wow.
And he says one wrestler tells the Torch that he doesn't like to see storylines get out, but it's not fair to blame the wrestlers for that. We're the last to know. The story leaks come from somewhere else. Most of us don't even know what we're doing on next week's TV until we show up, much less a pay-per-view 3 or 4 months down the line. That to me makes sense. If there is a leak, it's probably someone in the office more so than one of the talent who probably have no idea what they're doing in 3 months.
Who the hell could it have been? That's the bottom line. Who could it have been? And it's all sincerity. Who could it have been? And the talents were a source of leaks, not the only source of leaks, but they were a source of leaks, especially the underneath preliminary type talents who are disgruntled and making excuses. Everywhere I look in this thing about this leak here and this thing, it's all about being disgruntled. It's all about, to me, it's all about making excuses. And I'm not big on making excuses. And I understand the talent's concern, but some of them were talking, and some of them were getting a feel for what was going to happen on something they pitched that wasn't accepted. So if I can plant this dirt, then perhaps it will happen. There's an interest in it now. So it's two-way street in this thing. It really is.
It's written in the Observer, or the Torch rather, that one of the talent believe since he's no longer performing on camera, he wants an audience, and these wrestlers are his audience now. Do you think Vince was sort of performing for the talent here with these meetings? He just
when he got in the process, Conrad, he performed because that's just his nature. If he gets in front of a group of people, whether it be 10 people or 10,000 people, Vince is going to perform. And he did. Once he got into the process of his oratory, he performed. If I was in that position, and I performed. You got to add a little sizzle to the steak to keep the audience attentive. So I don't know how to really judge that whole fucking thing. It seems like a lot of excuses are being made because why I'm not getting my push, and God forbid there's no push.
We know this is going to be the year where Vince is going to dust off the WWE Hall of Fame. They've taken a bit of a break from this for a while, and they're going to have a bit of a paradigm shift. It'll no longer be a hotel banquet room with catered meals. The whole thing's going to be overhauled and made into a bigger production. It becomes a theater production.
Great idea.
Is that based on just, hey, we're returning to New York City, we're returning to Madison Square Garden, it's the 20th year anniversary, it's the right time in all that respect?
I think timing you're right. I think it's a good point. Timing had a lot to do with it. But it needed to be done every year. It was like, it should have been never considered anything but an annual event. The Hall of Fame, I went in 2007. Lawler and I went in together, and on that occasion in Detroit, at Ford Field. It was funny to me that we had more people attending WrestleMania that year at Ford Field than attended the Super Bowl there. And we had the advantage, of course, because we used the field. They had to play on the field, so we used the field. But I thought the Hall of Fame it should be something big time, and congratulations to Triple H for being inducted, or going to be inducted soon. Certainly, anybody that says, well, he's not deserving, the only reason he's in because of who he married is such bullshit. It's weak. If you're saying that, stop, and stop embarrassing yourself. The son of a bitch was the top heel in the hottest era, one of the hottest eras of WWE. And now he's the quarterback, the head coach of that same team that's setting records. Give me a break. Stop it. You're embarrassing yourself by showing your ignorance. Don't do that. And so I'm happy for him. I sent him a text the other day congratulating him, and believe it or not, it was the day after the Rumble. He texted me back. So he doesn't forget those that have helped him along the way and those that he respects. And he's doing a great job there.
Well, and you're doing a great job over at jrsbbq.com. They got something for everybody. My favorite is that all-purpose seasoning. Of course, I know it's a favorite in the Silva household, the Chipotle ketchup and the main event mustard. But there's two types of barbecue sauce, and now there's even a red-ass JR's hot sauce. You got to go check it out. You can even get autographed swag, trading cards, action figures, and Jim's brand new book, Business is About to Pick Up. It's all available at jrsbbq.com. And as he reminds us each week, it costs nothing to look, right?
Not a damn thing. And I signed a bunch of items on my holiday break in Oklahoma. So there's a lot of signed stuff if you're interested in that memorabilia type thing. But, check it out. As Conrad says, in jest, but in truth, it costs nothing to look. So go on our site, check it out. And I got action. Like I said, we have action figures, we have books, We got trading cards, and I don't price our stuff out of the realm of, reality. I'm fair with all that stuff. So check it out and see what you think. Maybe, and it's going to be warm enough for in most parts of the country to start grilling on a semi-regular basis at least. So it's time. Time is now. So grab some product and enjoy your cooking.
Go check it out if you haven't already. It's jrsbbq.com. And while you got your Google machine out, can I recommend grillingjr.com? That's your home for all things JR and Grilling JR. It's the best way to support our podcast. Just go hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications bell, leave us some comments. Let us know what you're thinking about what we're doing. And be sure to check in next week because we're going to be back with another big show about the Big Show. Man, hiring him from WCW, all the ups and downs. I mean, how many babyface heel turns do we think we have? Do we have enough time to get it all in next week? It's going to be tough.
We'll have to hustle.
Yeah, we will.
Hey,
We're
Conrad, I didn't ask you this question. I know we're ready to sign off here, but did you enjoy the Royal Rumble?
I did. I thought it was a fun show. We had a great time watching, and there were some stakes involved, and I kind of thought we might see some returning stars, some different ones on both the men's side and the women's side. It feels like they've got some tricks up their sleeve still to come. So
was Sting on it? Was Sting
no, Sting still's with AEW.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
I thought he retired in Winston-Salem. I guess I'm a mark. I don't know. I don't know why I asked you that question. It just seemed like, well, I think he's available.
No, he's under contract to AEW.
Okay, well then he's not available.
He is not available. That's right.
That shows you how close I keep up with it. But hey, I think also want to point out the string of shows in the recent weeks in AEW have been outstanding.
Yes,
outstanding television, and it really is a destination for me. I enjoy watching guys work. The guys that are getting TV time are taking advantage of it. We're just good, which is smart. So I don't know when I work again next. I think LA at the pay-per-view, but nonetheless.
Well, before then, we've got Grand Slam Australia coming up. As you and I are recording on Wednesday morning, as soon as I finish with you, I'm headed to Dynamite tonight in Atlanta. Collision is on sale this weekend. It's going to be in Houston. Austin, you're getting a real treat next week as well. But listen, it's all about Grand Slam Australia, February 15th. Tickets are on sale right now. AEW.
How's that doing? You know?
I think we lost JR. He froze up on us, but we'll be back here next week talking about the big show. In the meantime, check it out. Go see AEW live, do their thing. AEWTIX.com. We'll see you next week right here on Grilling JR.
And don't forget about the debut of Queen of the Ring.
That's
coming up soon, right around the corner. And if you haven't checked out the trailer, we'll play it for you here next week. But if you haven't checked out the trailer, it's really cool, and I'm so proud of it. It's amazing how that was all shined and put a nice bow on it and wrapped it nicely. It's good stuff. So check it out, and thank you for your business. We appreciate you.
We'll see you soon right here on Grilling JR.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-free shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling.
Check it out today. And hey, when you do, the first week is completely free at adfreeshows.com.